When billionaire CEO Marcus Wellington proposed to his cleaning lady, everyone thought he had lost his mind. But Marcus knew something about Elena Rodriguez that would shock the entire corporate world. Marcus Wellington stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Manhattan penthouse office, watching the city lights twinkle below. At 35, he controlled a business empire worth $3 billion. But tonight felt different. Tonight, he was about to make the most important decision of his life. The elevator chimed softly as Elena Rodriguez stepped out, pushing her cleaning cart. She wore the same navy blue uniform she'd worn for the past 8 months, her long dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. To everyone else in Wellington Industries, she was invisible, just another member of the night cleaning crew. But Marcus had been watching her. "Elena," he called softly, his voice echoing in the empty boardroom. She stopped, startled. In 8 months, the CEO had never spoken directly to her. "Yes, Mr. Wellington? Is there something wrong with the cleaning?" Marcus turned from the window, his gray eyes intense. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to listen carefully." Elena's heart raced. Was she about to be fired? She gripped the handle of her cart tighter. "Of course, sir." "Marry me." The words hung in the air like a suspended dream. Elena blinked, certain she had misheard. "I'm sorry. What?" "I'm asking you to marry me, Elena Rodriguez." Marcus stepped closer, his voice steady and sure. "I know this sounds insane, but I have my reasons." Elena's legs felt weak. "Mr. Wellington, I don't understand. You don't even know me." "But I do know you." Marcus moved to his desk and picked up a thick folder. "I know you arrive here every night at exactly 11 p.m. I know you work until 6 a.m., then go to your second job at the diner on 42nd Street. I know you send $800 every month to your mother in Honduras. And I know—" He paused, his eyes softening. "I know you have an MBA from Columbia University and a master's degree in international business." Elena's face went pale. "How did you— The question is, why is one of the most qualified business minds I've ever encountered scrubbing my floors?" Elena sank into one of the leather boardroom chairs, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. For 8 months she had hidden behind the uniform, invisible and safe. Now, under Marcus's penetrating gaze, there was nowhere to hide. "You investigated me," she whispered. "I had to. Do you know what caught my attention first?" Marcus sat across from her, leaning forward. 3 months ago, you left a note on my desk. I'd been struggling with the Morrison acquisition, $500 million on the line. You wrote one sentence, "Check Morrison's subsidiary in the Cayman Islands." That one sentence saved me from the biggest financial disaster of my career. Elena remembered that night. She had been cleaning Marcus's office when she saw the Morrison files spread across his desk. The numbers hadn't added up, and she couldn't stop herself from helping. "I shouldn't have done that. It wasn't my place." It was brilliant. The Morrison subsidiary was hiding $200 million in debt. Without your insight, I would have lost everything. Marcus leaned back, studying her face. "So I started paying attention. I noticed how you organized the conference room materials, how you aligned the financial reports in order of importance, how you corrected the math errors in the quarterly projections that even my senior analysts missed." "You saw all that?" "I see everything that matters." Marcus's voice softened. "What I want to know is why. Why are you here, Elena? With your qualifications, you could be running your own company." Elena closed her eyes, the painful memories rushing back. "Because 3 years ago I had my own consulting firm, 12 employees, offices in 2 cities. I was engaged to David Morrison. Yes, the same Morrison family you were about to do business with." Marcus's expression darkened. "What happened?" "David happened." Elena's voice turned bitter. 2 weeks before our wedding, I discovered he had been using my business connections to set up his own company. He stole my clients, my business plans, even my employees. When I confronted him, he destroyed me completely. He used his family's influence to blacklist me from every major corporation. He spread rumors that I was unstable, unreliable. Within 6 months, I lost everything. And you've been hiding ever since." What choice did I have? No one would hire Elena Rodriguez, the disgraced consultant, but they'll hire Elena Rodriguez, the cleaning lady. I've been sending money to my sick mother while trying to figure out how to rebuild my life. She looked up at him, tears glistening. But why does any of this matter to you? Why the marriage proposal? Marcus stood and walked to the window again, his shoulders tense. Because I'm dying, Elena. The words hit her like a physical blow. What? Pancreatic cancer, stage 3. The doctors give me 18 months, maybe 2 years if I'm lucky. He turned back to her, his face composed despite the devastating news. I've built an empire, but I have no one to leave it to, no family, no children. When I die, everything I've worked for will be dismantled by the board and sold to the highest bidder. Elena felt the weight of his confession settling over the room. So you need a wife. I need more than that. I need someone intelligent enough to understand the business, strong enough to fight for it, and trustworthy enough to honor my vision. Marcus moved closer to her. But most importantly, I need someone who isn't marrying me for my money, someone who has already proven they can succeed on their own merit. This is insane, Marcus. You can't just marry someone to solve your problems. Can I? Think about it, Elena. Marriage to me solves both our problems. You get the resources and credibility to rebuild your career. I get an heir who actually deserves what I've built. Marcus pulled out a thick legal document. This is a marriage contract. You would become my legal wife and business partner. When I die, you inherit everything, but only if you promise to continue the company's mission and take care of the 50,000 people who work for Wellington Industries. Elena stared at the contract as if it were a snake. What about love? What about a real marriage? Marcus's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing a vulnerability Elena had never seen. I gave up on love a long time ago, Elena. I've learned that business partnerships are more reliable than romance. We respect each other's intelligence. We trust each other's integrity. That's more than most marriages have. And if I say no, then you say no. You continue cleaning my offices, and I continue dying alone. But I hope you won't, because I think we could build something extraordinary together. Elena spent the next week in turmoil. The marriage contract sat on her small kitchen table like a time bomb, its implications growing more complex with each passing day. She continued her night shift at Wellington Industries, but everything felt different now. Marcus treated her exactly the same as before, polite, distant, professional. But Elena found herself watching him, noticing the subtle signs of his illness that she had missed before. The slight tremor in his left hand during particularly stressful meetings, the way he rubbed his temples when he thought no one was looking, the prescription bottles he kept in his desk drawer. On Friday night, she found him still in his office at 2 a.m., surrounded by financial reports. He looked exhausted, his usually perfect hair disheveled. "You should go home," she said softly. Marcus looked up, surprised. "Elena, I didn't hear you come in." "You were concentrating." She moved closer, noticing the dark circles under his eyes. "When was your last treatment?" "Tuesday." "How did you—" "My mother had cancer. I recognized the signs." Elena sat down across from him. "The fatigue, the way you hold your left side when you stand up too quickly. You're in pain." Marcus closed his eyes. "The treatments buy me time, but they're brutal. Some days I can barely think straight." "Then why are you here at 2 a.m. working?" "Because this company is my legacy. Every day I waste is a day closer to watching it fall apart." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Have you thought about my proposal?" Elena took a deep breath. "I have questions." "Ask them." "If I marry you, what happens to my identity? Do I become just another corporate wife? Or do I actually get to contribute?" Marcus pulled out another folder. "I've already had my lawyers draft papers to reinstate Elena Rodriguez as a senior consultant to Wellington Industries. Your first project would be taking over the Morrison acquisition, properly this time. You'd have a team of 12 analysts and complete authority to restructure the deal." Elena's eyes widened. "You're giving me a $500 million project." "I'm giving you the chance to prove to the business world that Elena Rodriguez is back. When word gets out that you're my wife and business partner, Every company that blacklisted you will come crawling back. And after you die, Marcus's jaw tightened, the company becomes yours, all of it. But Elena, I need you to understand something. I'm not just asking you to be my widow. I'm asking you to be my partner while I'm alive. These next 18 months, I want to teach you everything I know. I want to watch you tear apart every assumption this corporate world has about who deserves power. Elena felt something shift inside her chest. This wasn't just about marriage or money. This was about redemption, about proving that David Morrison and every man like him couldn't destroy her. What about the personal side? Living arrangements, public appearances. We'll live as husband and wife. Separate bedrooms if you prefer, but we need to convince the world this is real. The board, the media, our competitors, they can't suspect this is purely a business arrangement. Marcus paused. I won't lie to you, Elena. I need you to play the part of the loving wife. Can you do that? Elena studied his face, seeing past the corporate mask to the lonely dying man underneath. I have one condition. Name it. No lies between us. Whatever this is, marriage, partnership, friendship, I need honesty, complete honesty. Marcus extended his hand across the desk. Complete honesty. Elena shook his hand, feeling the warm strength of his grip. Then yes, Marcus Wellington, I'll marry you. The transformation of Elena Rodriguez began immediately. Marcus arranged for a complete makeover, not to change who she was, but to reveal who she had always been underneath the uniform. When Elena walked into Wellington Industries Monday morning, heads turned. Gone was the invisible cleaning lady. In her place stood a confident woman in a tailored navy suit, her dark hair styled in an elegant updo, her MBA credentials proudly displayed in her new corner office. The reaction was immediate and explosive. This has to be a joke, whispered Jennifer Kim from HR as Elena passed in the hallway. She's the cleaning lady, hissed Robert Chen from accounting. How does a cleaning lady become a senior consultant overnight? But when Elena walked into the Morrison Project meeting that afternoon, carrying the research she had compiled over months of observing from the shadows, the whispers stopped. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus announced to the room full of senior executives, I'd like you to meet Elena Rodriguez, your new project leader for the Morrison acquisition. Elena, please show them what you've discovered. Elena stepped to the front of the room, her heart pounding but her voice steady. 3 months ago, this company was about to make a $500 million mistake. You were all so focused on Morrison Industries' impressive revenue numbers that you missed the obvious red flag. She clicked to her first slide, revealing a complex web of subsidiary companies. Morrison Industries owns 17 subsidiary companies, but only lists 12 on their public filings. The 5 hidden subsidiaries are all registered in tax havens, and they're carrying a combined debt of $300 million. The room fell silent. These were the same executives who had ignored her for 8 months. But that's not the worst part, Elena continued, clicking to the next slide. Morrison Industries has been artificially inflating their revenues by selling assets to their own subsidiaries, then buying them back at higher prices. It's legal, but it's designed to fool potential investors, like us. CFO Thomas Bradley leaned forward, his face pale. How did you discover this? Our entire analysis team missed it. Elena looked at Marcus, who gave her an encouraging nod. Because for the past 8 months, I've been watching you all make mistakes while I cleaned your offices. I've seen the reports you've missed, the calculations you've gotten wrong, the obvious patterns you've overlooked. When you treat someone as invisible, they see everything. The silence in the room was deafening. Elena has identified 17 separate issues with the Morrison deal, Marcus announced. She's restructured the entire acquisition to avoid the debt traps and reduce our exposure by 60%. Ladies and gentlemen, meet your new partner. As the meeting ended and the executives filed out, some in shock, others in grudging admiration, Marcus approached Elena. How does it feel to be visible again? Elena smiled, but there was something sad in her eyes. Terrifying, exhilarating, like I'm finally breathing again. She paused. Marcus, can I ask you something personal? Always. Are you happy? I mean, really happy? You're about to marry someone you barely know, someone who's basically agreeing to a business transaction. Doesn't part of you want something real? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Elena, I stopped believing in real a long time ago. But what we're building, this partnership, this mutual respect, that feels more authentic than anything I've had in years. Elena nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Marcus Wellington than he was willing to reveal. The wedding took place 3 weeks later in a small ceremony at Marcus's estate in the Hamptons. Only 50 guests attended, mostly Wellington Industries board members and a few of Elena's family members who flew in from Honduras. Elena wore a simple but elegant ivory dress, her hair adorned with her grandmother's pearls. Marcus looked distinguished in his charcoal gray tuxedo, though Elena noticed he had to grip the podium slightly to stay steady during the ceremony. As they exchanged vows, carefully crafted by lawyers to sound romantic while maintaining their business arrangement, Elena felt an unexpected pang of sadness. This should have been one of the happiest days of her life, but instead, it felt like a beautifully orchestrated performance. I, Marcus, take you, Elena, to be my partner in all things, Marcus said, his voice steady and sure. I promise to respect your mind, trust your judgment, and support your ambitions for as long as I live. Elena's throat tightened at the words, as long as I live. The reminder of his mortality hung over every moment. I, Elena, take you, Marcus, to be my partner in all things. I promise to honor your legacy, continue your vision, and prove myself worthy of your trust. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Marcus kissed her gently, a soft, brief kiss that felt more like a seal on a contract than a romantic gesture. But as they walked back down the aisle together, Elena noticed something unexpected. Marcus was smiling, not his usual controlled corporate smile, but something genuine and warm. For just a moment, she glimpsed the man he might have been if circumstances were different. The reception was elegant but restrained. Elena found herself playing the role of the happy bride, accepting congratulations and fielding questions about how she and Marcus had met. It's such a romantic story, gushed board member Patricia Whitmore. Who would have thought the CEO would fall for his cleaning lady? Elena forced a smile. Sometimes the best things are right in front of us. We just have to learn to see them. Later that evening, as the last guests departed, Elena and Marcus stood on the terrace overlooking the ocean. The silence between them was comfortable, but weighted with unspoken thoughts. So, Elena said finally, what happens now? Now we go home. We start our new life as business partners and spouses. We work together to make Wellington Industries stronger than it's ever been. Marcus paused, studying her face in the moonlight. Are you having second thoughts? Elena considered the question seriously. Number. But I keep wondering if you are. You could have chosen anyone, Marcus. You could have found someone who would have been genuinely in love with you. Marcus turned to face her fully. Elena, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Of course. I was engaged once before, 7 years ago. Her name was Catherine Morrison. Elena's blood ran cold. Morrison, as in David Morrison's older sister. Yes. Marcus's voice was bitter. I was 28, stupidly romantic, and completely convinced that love conquered all. Catherine was beautiful, charming, and I thought she loved me for who I was. What happened? I found out she was feeding information about my business deals to her family. Every negotiation, every acquisition, every strategic plan, she was passing it all along to help Morrison Industries stay one step ahead of me. When I confronted her, she laughed, said I was naive to think someone like her would marry someone like me for anything other than money and access. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. That's horrible. The worst part, David Morrison was the one who orchestrated the whole thing. He convinced his sister to seduce me, to get close enough to destroy my business from the inside. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Sound familiar? Elena gasped as the pieces fell into place. David did the same thing to me. He used love as a weapon to destroy everything I'd built. Exactly. We were both casualties of the Morrison family's ambition. Marcus looked at her with something approaching tenderness. So when I say I chose you, Elena, I mean it. You're the first person I've met who understands what it means to be betrayed by someone you trusted. You're the first person I can be completely honest with. Elena felt something shift in her chest, a warmth she hadn't expected. Marcus, what if this becomes more than just a business arrangement? What if we actually become friends? Marcus smiled, and for the first time since she'd known him, it reached his eyes. I think we already are. Marcus had planned a 2-week honeymoon in Tuscany, claiming it was necessary to maintain appearances. Elena had been reluctant. The whole thing felt like an elaborate charade. But as their plane touched down in Florence, she found herself genuinely excited for the first time in years. They stayed at a converted villa overlooking rolling hills covered in vineyards. The setting was breathtakingly romantic, which made their careful emotional distance feel even more absurd. We have separate suites, Marcus explained as they were shown to their rooms, but they're connected by a sitting area. We need to be able to appear together if anyone from the press shows up. Elena nodded, but she was barely listening. She was mesmerized by the view from her window, endless green hills dotted with cypress trees and ancient stone buildings. It was the most beautiful place she had ever seen. That evening, they had dinner on the terrace overlooking the valley. The food was exquisite, the wine smooth and rich, and the conversation surprisingly easy. "Tell me about your mother," Marcus said as they shared a dessert of fresh berries and cream. Elena's face softened. "Esperanza Rodriguez. She's 62, lives in a small village outside Tegucigalpa. She raised 5 children by herself after my father died when I was 12. She's the strongest person I know." "Is she why you were so determined to succeed in business?" "Partly. But it was more than that. I wanted to prove that someone like me, a girl from Honduras with an accent and second-hand clothes, could make it in the corporate world. I wanted to be the example for other girls who looked like me." Elena's voice grew sad. "Instead, I became a cautionary tale." Marcus reached across the table and covered her hand with his. It was the first time he had touched her since their wedding kiss, and Elena was surprised by how warm and comforting his hand felt. "You're not a cautionary tale, Elena. You're a comeback story. The best kind." Over the next few days, something unexpected began to happen. Away from the pressures of business and the scrutiny of the corporate world, Marcus and Elena began to relax around each other. They explored Florence together, wandering through art galleries and markets like actual tourists. Marcus proved to be an excellent tour guide, his art history knowledge surprising Elena. "You know a lot about Renaissance art for a businessman," she teased as they stood in front of Michelangelo's David. "My mother was an art professor before she married my father. She used to bring me to museums when I was a kid before she got sick." Marcus's expression grew distant. "She died when I was 16. Cancer, like me." Elena felt a sharp pang of sympathy. "I'm sorry. It must have been devastating." "It was. My father completely shut down after she died. He threw himself into work and expected me to do the same. I think that's when I stopped believing in anything that couldn't be quantified or controlled." They were standing close together in the crowded museum, and Elena found herself studying Marcus's profile. For the first time, she saw past his corporate armor to the lonely teenager who had lost his mother and learned to guard his heart. "Marcus," she said softly, "what if we tried something different while we're here?" He turned to her, curious. "What do you mean?" "What if we forgot about the business arrangement for a while and just tried to be friends? Real friends, not just partners playing a role." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his gray eyes searching her face. "I'm not sure I remember how to be someone's friend, Elena." Elena smiled. "Then it's a good thing I'm an excellent teacher." That evening, they sat on their terrace with a bottle of wine, talking until the early hours of the morning. Marcus told her about his childhood dreams of being an architect, his love of classical music, his fear that he would die without ever having truly lived. Elena shared her passion for sustainable business practices, her dream of starting a foundation for underprivileged students, her secret love of terrible romantic comedies. "You watch romantic comedies?" Marcus asked, clearly amused. Elena blushed. Don't judge me. Sometimes you need to believe in happy endings, even if they're ridiculous. I'm not judging. I'm just surprised. You seem too practical for fairy tales. Everyone needs a little magic, Marcus, even corporate executives. As the wine took effect and their conversation grew more intimate, Elena found herself studying Marcus's face in the candlelight. He was handsome, she had always acknowledged that, but she was beginning to see something deeper, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed genuinely, the gentle way he spoke about his mother, the vulnerability he showed when he thought she wasn't looking. Elena, Marcus said suddenly, his voice serious, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Always. Do you regret this? Marrying me? Giving up any chance of finding real love? Elena considered the question carefully. A month ago, the answer would have been yes. But sitting here with Marcus, seeing him as more than just a business arrangement, she found her answer more complicated. I don't know, she said finally. I thought I knew what love was when I was with David. But that wasn't love. That was manipulation. Maybe what we're building is better than love. Maybe it's more honest. Marcus nodded slowly. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we had met under different circumstances, if I weren't dying, if you weren't rebuilding your life, if we were just two people who happened to meet in a coffee shop or at a bookstore. What do you think would have happened? Marcus looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. I think I would have been intimidated by you. You're brilliant, beautiful, and strong enough to survive things that would have destroyed most people. I would have probably admired you from a distance and never had the courage to approach you. Elena felt her cheeks warm. That's not true. You're one of the most confident people I've ever met. In business, yes. In life? Marcus shook his head. I've spent the last 15 years building walls, Elena. You're the first person I've wanted to let inside. The honesty in his voice made Elena's heart race. Marcus, I know. I know this complicates things. I know we agreed this was just a partnership, but I can't pretend I don't care about you. More than I should. Elena set down her wine glass, her hands trembling slightly. What are you saying? I'm saying that somewhere between the marriage proposal and tonight, I've started to fall for my wife, and I have no idea what to do about it. The flight back to New York was heavy with unspoken tension. Marcus's confession had changed everything between them, and neither was sure how to navigate their new reality. They returned to the penthouse they now shared, a stunning apartment overlooking Central Park that Marcus had bought years ago but never truly inhabited. Elena moved her few belongings into the master suite's walk-in closet, while Marcus maintained his separate bedroom down the hall. We need to talk about how this is going to work, Elena said as they stood in the expansive living room, surrounded by expensive furniture that somehow felt cold and unwelcoming. I know. I shouldn't have said what I said in Italy. It wasn't fair to you. Elena turned to face him, her expression serious. Marcus, I need you to listen to me. What happened in Tuscany, the friendship, the honesty, the way we connected, that was real. I don't want to lose that. But I also can't pretend I don't have feelings for you too, and that scares me more than anything. Marcus's eyes widened. Elena, let me finish. You're dying, Marcus. In the best-case scenario, we have 18 months together. I can't let myself fall completely in love with you only to lose you. I won't survive that kind of heartbreak again. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding the impossible position they were both in. So what do you suggest? We take it day by day. We be honest with each other about what we're feeling, but we don't make promises we can't keep. We build something real, but we also protect ourselves. Can we do that? Build something real while holding back? Elena moved closer to him, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his gray eyes. I don't know, but I think we have to try. Marcus reached up and touched her face gently, his thumb tracing along her cheekbone. Elena, whatever time I have left, I want to spend it with you, not just as a business partner or convenient wife. I want to spend it with you. Elena closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. Then let's start with today. Over the next 3 months, Marcus and Elena fell into a rhythm that felt surprisingly natural. They worked together during the day, tackling increasingly complex business challenges as a team. Elena's insights and Marcus's experience proved to be a formidable combination. The Morrison acquisition, restructured under Elena's leadership, ended up saving Wellington Industries $200 million and establishing Elena as a force to be reckoned with in the corporate world. But it was their evenings together that revealed the depth of their growing connection. Marcus introduced Elena to his love of classical music, taking her to the opera and symphony. Elena introduced Marcus to her passion for cooking, teaching him to make traditional Honduran dishes in their state-of-the-art kitchen. "This is incredible," Marcus said, tasting the bolitas Elena had prepared. "I had no idea you could cook." "There's a lot you don't know about me yet," Elena replied, smiling at his obvious enjoyment of the food. "I'm looking forward to learning everything." They read together in the evenings, sharing favorite books and debating everything from business ethics to philosophy. They took long walks through Central Park, talking about their hopes and fears. They even discovered a shared love of terrible action movies, spending lazy Sunday afternoons making fun of plot holes and impossible stunts. But it was the small moments that meant the most. The way Marcus brought Elena coffee every morning, prepared exactly the way she liked it. The way Elena made sure Marcus took his medications on schedule, even when he tried to skip them during particularly demanding days. The way they fell asleep on the couch together while watching movies, Marcus's arm around Elena's shoulders, her head resting on his chest. They were building a life together, and it felt real in a way that neither had expected. The corporate world took notice. Elena Rodriguez Wellington became a sought-after speaker at business conferences. Harvard Business School invited her to guest lecture. Fortune magazine featured her on their cover with the headline, "From Cleaning Lady to CEO, the Elena Rodriguez Story." But with success came new challenges. "Mrs. Wellington," said board member Richard Cross during a quarterly meeting, "while we all appreciate your unique background and perspectives, some of us are concerned about the rapid changes you're implementing." Elena looked around the boardroom table, noting the subtle hostility in several faces. "What changes specifically concern you, Mr. Cross?" "The sustainability initiatives, the employee profit-sharing program, the charitable foundation. These are all very idealistic, but they're also expensive." Marcus leaned forward, his expression dangerous. "Richard, are you questioning my wife's business judgment?" "I'm questioning whether emotional decision-making has a place in a corporation of this size." Elena felt her temper flare, but she kept her voice steady. "Mr. Cross, let me share some numbers with you. Since implementing the sustainability initiatives, our operating costs have decreased by 12%. Employee productivity is up 18% since we announced the profit-sharing program. And the charitable foundation has generated over $50 million in positive publicity and tax benefits. Which part of that strikes you as emotional decision-making?" Richard Cross's face reddened, but he had no response. After the meeting, Marcus found Elena in her office, staring out the window with a tight expression. "You handled that perfectly," he said, closing the door behind him. "Did I? Or did I just make more enemies?" Marcus moved behind her chair, placing his hands on her shoulders. "Elena, you can't win over everyone. Some people will never accept that someone like you belongs in a room like that." "Someone like me? Someone brilliant, someone who earned their place through merit instead of connections, someone who threatens their comfortable little world." Marcus's hands tightened on her shoulders. "But you do belong there, more than any of them." Elena leaned back against him, drawing comfort from his presence. "Sometimes I still feel like I'm pretending, like I'm still the cleaning lady in a business suit." "Then let me tell you what I see," Marcus said softly. "I see a woman who rebuilt her career from nothing. I see someone who saved my company millions of dollars. I see the smartest person in every room she enters. I see my partner, my equal, my—" He stopped abruptly, and Elena turned in her chair to look at him. "Your what?" Marcus's eyes were intense, full of emotion he was struggling to contain. "My everything." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning and possibility. Elena stood slowly, moving closer to him until they were almost touching. "Marcus, we said we would take this day by day." I know, but Elena, I can't pretend anymore. I love you. Completely, desperately, irrevocably. I know it's not fair to you. I know it complicates everything, but I had to tell you. Elena felt tears sting her eyes. You think loving you isn't fair to me? Marcus, loving you is the best thing that's happened to me in years. The problem isn't that you love me. The problem is that I love you back. Marcus cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle but urgent. Then what are we fighting? Time, Elena whispered. We're fighting time. Marcus kissed her then, soft and sweet and desperate all at once. It was their first real kiss since their wedding day, and it felt like coming home and saying goodbye all at the same time. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard, both were crying. I love you, Elena Rodriguez Wellington, Marcus said against her forehead. I love you too, Marcus Wellington. God help us both. 6 months into their marriage, Marcus collapsed during a board meeting. Elena was in her office when Marcus's assistant called, her voice panicked. Mrs. Wellington, you need to come to the boardroom immediately. Mr. Wellington has collapsed. Elena ran through the halls of Wellington Industries, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floors. She found Marcus on the floor, surrounded by paramedics, his face gray and drawn. I'm his wife, she said, pushing through the crowd of concerned executives. Ma'am, we're taking him to Mount Sinai Hospital. You can ride with us. In the ambulance, Elena held Marcus's hand while he drifted in and out of consciousness. Stay with me, she whispered. Please stay with me. At the hospital, Elena paced the waiting room while doctors ran tests. 3 hours later, Dr. Patricia Hendricks, Marcus's oncologist, emerged with a grim expression. Mrs. Wellington, I need to speak with you. Elena's heart sank. How bad is it? The cancer has spread more aggressively than we anticipated. It's now in his liver and lymph nodes. I'm sorry, but we're looking at months, not years. Elena felt the floor drop out from under her. How many months? With aggressive treatment, maybe 6. Without treatment, probably 3. Elena sank into a chair, the weight of the news crushing her. 6 months. They had 6 months. When she was finally allowed to see Marcus, he was awake but weak, connected to various monitors and IV lines. Hey, he said softly when he saw her, attempting a weak smile. Elena moved to his bedside, taking his hand carefully. Hey yourself, you scared me. I scared myself too. Marcus's voice was hoarse. Did you talk to Dr. Hendricks? Elena nodded, unable to speak around the lump in her throat. How long? 6 months with treatment, 3 without. Marcus closed his eyes, absorbing the news. When he opened them again, they were filled with determination. Then we have 6 months to live a lifetime. Marcus chose the aggressive treatment, but he also made another decision that surprised everyone. He stepped back from the day-to-day operations of Wellington Industries and named Elena as acting CEO. The board will never accept it, Elena protested as they sat in Marcus's hospital room the next day. The board will accept what I tell them to accept. I still own 51% of the company. Marcus squeezed her hand. Elena, this was always the plan. I'm just accelerating the timeline. But not like this. Not because you're dying. Elena, we can't pretend this isn't happening. The company needs leadership, and you're the best person for the job. The board knows it, even if they don't want to admit it. The transition wasn't smooth. Several board members resigned in protest. 2 major clients pulled their accounts, claiming they weren't comfortable with the sudden changes in leadership. Financial analysts questioned whether Wellington Industries could survive such dramatic upheaval. But Elena proved them all wrong. Working 18-hour days, she not only maintained the company's stability, but actually increased profits by 15% in her first quarter as CEO. She implemented innovative employee retention programs, expanded into emerging markets, and formed strategic partnerships that positioned Wellington Industries as a leader in sustainable business practices. You're magnificent, Marcus told her one evening as she sat by his bedside, reviewing quarterly reports. Elena looked up from her laptop, noting how thin he had become since starting chemotherapy. I learned from the best. No, Elena, what you're doing now, this is all you. I never could have taken the company in the direction you're heading." "Where am I heading?" Marcus smiled despite his exhaustion. "Toward something that matters. You're building a company that doesn't just make money, it makes a difference. That's your vision, not mine." Elena set aside her work and moved closer to his bed. "Our vision. We're partners, remember?" "Partners," Marcus agreed, but there was sadness in his eyes. 3 months after Marcus's diagnosis, the board of directors called for an emergency meeting. Elena knew it wasn't good news when she walked into the boardroom and found 12 stern faces staring at her. "Elena," said Chairman Robert Ashford, his tone formal and cold, "we need to discuss the future leadership of this company." "I thought we had already discussed that. Marcus appointed me as acting CEO." "Acting CEO while Marcus recovers," corrected board member Patricia Whitmore. "But Marcus isn't recovering, is he?" Elena felt her temper rise. "Marcus is fighting cancer with incredible courage and dignity. He's also remained actively involved in major strategic decisions. His illness doesn't diminish his authority or judgment." "His illness makes him vulnerable to emotional decision-making," said Richard Cross, the same man who had challenged Elena months earlier. "We believe he's allowing personal feelings to cloud his business judgment." "Personal feelings?" "His feelings for you," Cross continued bluntly. "Marcus is in love with his wife, which is admirable in a personal context, but dangerous in a corporate one. We don't believe he's capable of making objective decisions about your role in this company." Elena stood slowly, her hands clenched into fists. "Are you questioning my qualifications, Mr. Cross?" "We're questioning your husband's motivations for promoting you so rapidly." "Then let me clarify something for all of you," Elena said, her voice steady but dangerous. "I have increased this company's profits by 23% in 6 months. I have secured 3 major international contracts worth a combined $800 million. I have improved employee satisfaction ratings to the highest levels in company history. I have been featured on the cover of Fortune, Forbes, and Business Week. Harvard Business School has offered me a permanent position as a professor of strategic management. The President of the United States invited me to serve on the National Economic Advisory Council." She paused, looking around the table at each face. "So please explain to me how my husband's feelings for me are relevant to any of those achievements." The room fell silent. "Furthermore," Elena continued, "if you believe Marcus Wellington is making emotional decisions, then you clearly don't know the man you've worked with for 15 years. Marcus has never made an emotional decision in his life. He appointed me as CEO because I'm the best person for the job. And if you can't see that, then perhaps you're the ones letting emotions cloud your judgment." Chairman Ashford cleared his throat. "Elena, we're not questioning your abilities. We're questioning the optics. The media is calling this a corporate fairy tale, the CEO who married his cleaning lady and made her his successor. Some investors are concerned that this company is being run more like a romance novel than a serious business." "Then those investors don't understand what they're looking at," Elena replied firmly. "They're looking at a company that has redefined what success means. We're profitable, ethical, and sustainable. We're proving that you can build wealth without destroying communities or exploiting workers. If that seems like a fairy tale to them, it's because they've forgotten what business should be." Marcus chose that moment to walk into the boardroom, leaning heavily on a cane but still commanding respect in his perfectly tailored suit. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said calmly, taking his seat at the head of the table. "Marcus," said Ashford, clearly uncomfortable, "you should be resting." I was resting, until my assistant informed me that my board of directors was questioning my wife's authority. Marcus's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Would someone like to explain to me why 12 of the highest-paid executives in New York are wasting their time on gossip?" Richard Cross shifted uncomfortably. "Marcus, we're concerned about the future of the company. Your illness—" "My illness has given me clarity," Marcus interrupted. "For 15 years, I built this company to be profitable. Elena has spent 6 months building it to be meaningful. Profits are temporary, meaning lasts forever." He looked around the table, meeting each person's eyes. "Elena Rodriguez Wellington is the best CEO this company has ever had. When I die, And yes, I am dying. She will continue to lead this company better than I ever could. If any of you have a problem with that, there's the door." Marcus stood slowly, his movements careful but dignified. "This meeting is over." As winter turned to spring, Marcus's condition deteriorated rapidly. The treatments were no longer effective, and Dr. Hendricks recommended transitioning to comfort care. "I want to go home," Marcus told Elena as they sat in his hospital room, watching the sun set over the city. "I want to spend whatever time I have left in our home with you." Elena nodded, unable to speak around the tears threatening to fall. They had known this day would come, but knowing didn't make it easier. The penthouse was transformed into a comfortable care facility, with nurses available around the clock and all the medical equipment Marcus might need. But most days, he didn't want the clinical atmosphere. He wanted to sit on the terrace with Elena, talking about the future of the company and their memories together. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked one afternoon as they shared lunch on the terrace. "Marrying me, I mean. You could have rebuilt your career without all these complications." Elena set down her fork and looked at him seriously. "Marcus Wellington, marrying you was the best decision I ever made. Not because of the money or the company or the opportunities, because of you, because of us. Even knowing how it ends? Especially knowing how it ends. Most people don't get to love someone completely and be loved completely in return. We've had that. We've had more real love in 1 year than most people have in a lifetime." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. His fingers were thin now, his grip weaker than it used to be, but his touch still made Elena's heart race. "I have something for you," he said, pulling a small wrapped box from his jacket pocket. Elena unwrapped it carefully, revealing a simple silver locket. Inside was a picture of them from their honeymoon in Tuscany, laughing together at some joke she couldn't remember. "Turn it over," Marcus said softly. Engraved on the back were the words, "To my greatest love and my greatest achievement." Elena began to cry, clutching the locket to her chest. "Marcus, I can't." "You can. You will. Because you're the strongest person I know, and because you have a company to run and a legacy to build." Marcus moved his chair closer to hers, taking her face in his hands. "Elena, promise me something. Anything. Promise me you won't stop living when I'm gone. Promise me you'll keep building something beautiful. Promise me you'll find love again." "I can't promise that last one," Elena said through her tears. "You're it for me, Marcus. You're my one great love. Then promise me you'll stay open to the possibility. Promise me you won't let fear keep you from being happy." Elena nodded, even though she couldn't imagine loving anyone else. Marcus died on a Tuesday morning in April, with Elena holding his hand and spring sunshine streaming through the windows of their bedroom. His last words were, "Thank you for saving me," which made Elena cry harder because she felt like he was the one who had saved her. The funeral was a massive affair, with business leaders, politicians, and celebrities all coming to pay their respects to Marcus Wellington. But the moment that mattered most to Elena was when Maria Santos, her former supervisor from the cleaning company, approached her at the graveside. "Mrs. Wellington," Maria said, her eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Marcus, he was a good man. He saw you when nobody else did." "Yes," Elena replied, her voice steady despite her grief. "He was very good at seeing what others missed." The reading of Marcus's will took place a week later in the same conference room where he had first proposed to Elena. The majority of his personal fortune, $500 million, went to Elena, along with his shares in Wellington Industries, making her the majority owner. But there were also substantial bequests to every employee of the company, scholarships for underprivileged students, and funding for a cancer research foundation. The biggest surprise was a video message Marcus had recorded shortly before his death. "If you're watching this," Marcus said from the screen, looking directly at Elena, "then I'm gone, and you're probably feeling lost and scared. Don't be. You are the most capable person I've ever known, and Wellington Industries is in the best possible hands." Elena watched through tears as her husband's image continued. "To my board of directors, if any of you are still questioning Elena's authority, let me be clear. She is your leader now. Follow her or find other jobs. To my employees, trust Elena as you trusted me. She will take care of you better than I ever could. And to my Elena. Marcus paused, his love evident in every line of his face. You gave me the greatest year of my life. You taught me how to love and how to be loved. Now I need you to teach others what you taught me. That business can be a force for good, that success without meaning is worthless, and that the most powerful thing in the world is a person who refuses to accept limitations. The video ended, leaving Elena sitting alone in the conference room as the lawyers and board members filed out quietly. Elena stood at the podium of the Harvard Business School auditorium, looking out at 500 eager faces waiting to hear her speak. At 35, she had become one of the most respected CEOs in the world, leading Wellington Industries to unprecedented success while maintaining Marcus's vision of ethical business practices. 5 years ago, she began, her voice strong and clear, I was scrubbing floors and believing my life was over. Today, I stand before you as the CEO of a Fortune 100 company. But that's not what I want to talk about today. She clicked to her first slide, which showed a photo of Marcus. I want to talk about a man named Marcus Wellington, who taught me that the most successful partnerships are built not on romance or convenience, but on mutual respect, shared values, and the courage to see potential where others see problems. Elena had given hundreds of speeches over the past 5 years, but this one was special. It was the first time she had spoken publicly about Marcus in detail, and she could feel the audience's complete attention. Marcus hired me because he saw something in me that I had stopped seeing in myself. He didn't rescue me. He reminded me how to rescue myself, and in the process, we built something neither of us could have created alone. She clicked to the next slide, showing Wellington Industries' current numbers. Revenue had tripled under Elena's leadership. Employee satisfaction was at 98%. The company had been named one of the best places to work for 5 consecutive years. Some people call this a corporate fairy tale, Elena continued, but fairy tales are fantasies. This is real life. This is what happens when you combine vision with hard work, when you lead with both your head and your heart, when you remember that businesses are made up of people, not just numbers. After the speech, Elena was approached by a young woman with nervous energy and determined eyes. Mrs. Wellington, the woman said, my name is Sophia Reyes. I'm a first-year MBA student, and I wanted to thank you. For what? For showing people like me that it's possible. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, let alone business school. When I see what you've accomplished, it makes me believe I can accomplish something too. Elena smiled, remembering the young woman she had been 5 years ago, lost and broken, and sure her dreams were dead. Sophia, let me tell you something Marcus once told me. The most powerful partnerships aren't just in business or marriage. Sometimes the most important partnership is the one you build with yourself, learning to see your worth, trust your instincts, and never give up on your vision. Elena handed Sophia her business card. Call me next week. Wellington Industries has an excellent internship program. That evening, Elena returned to the penthouse she had shared with Marcus. It was filled with memories, but it no longer felt haunted by grief. Instead, it felt like a foundation for the future. She walked out onto the terrace where she and Marcus had spent so many evenings talking about their dreams. The city sparkled below, full of possibilities and stories waiting to be written. Elena touched the silver locket she still wore every day, thinking about the promise she had made to Marcus. She had kept building something beautiful. Wellington Industries was thriving, employing 75,000 people worldwide and setting new standards for corporate responsibility. As for finding love again, that remained an open question. Elena had gone on a few dates over the years, but no one had measured up to Marcus. Part of her wondered if anyone ever could, but she was no longer afraid of the possibility. Marcus had taught her that love, when it was real, was always worth the risk. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia Reyes. Mrs. Wellington, thank you again for today. You've changed my life. Elena smiled, typing back. You changed your own life, Sophia. I just reminded you it was possible. As she put her phone away, Elena realized that this was Marcus's greatest gift to her, not the money or the company or even the love they had shared. It was the knowledge that she had the power to change lives, to build bridges, to create opportunities for others the way he had created them for her. The partnership between Marcus and Elena had ended with his death, but the mission they had started together, proving that business could be a force for good, that success could be measured in more than profits, that everyone deserved to be seen and valued, that mission would continue. Elena Wellington, former cleaning lady turned CEO, stood on her terrace overlooking the city she had conquered, wearing a locket that reminded her daily of the greatest love story she had ever known. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, it was something better. It was a new beginning. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.